Hi everybody, welcome to, you've all been asking me this, if I would do a vlog on how to make this purse. It's a German purse and it's called the PORTmoney Allin and PORTmoney Allin. Allin. The German language is very close to Geordie language, and if we were saying put it in, we'd say put it all in. Means put it all in, put it all in. So this is the PORTmoney Allin, or PORTmoney Allin, which is for putting everything in, I suppose. And basically this one that I've made more than three. Just to let you see, this is my very old one. This is about 5 years old. I did it the wrong way. Well, I did it the right way. It was my first attempt and I was very pleased with it being a first attempt. But the one thing I've got to point out is I had cats on it, and when you're doing cats you must make sure that your fabric has a two-way lie. If it doesn't, then you're going to need a seam there and a seam there. You're going to have to break it up into 3 pieces. And I had finished it, and what I found was my cats were upside down, so I had to quickly make a little pocket that went on the top, and just to disguise the fact that I had them upside down. I made it, I think I've shown you in one of my other vlogs, but this was the inside of it. I actually missed a piece out here. I can't remember if it was intentional or just I hadn't realised, but that was my first attempt. Then I made 2 or 3 more, which I gave to friends and family. No, it was about 3 or 4 more which I gave to friends and family, and my daughter was one of them, and the girl who worked for us at work was the other one, and she liked it so much. Both of them liked them so much. They both said to me that they're starting to get worn, could I make some more? So I've made some more, and I've currently made this one, and you will notice that I haven't used metal clasps on them. The reason why I haven't used metal clasps, that was the very first one I made, and that's the little poppers, and I've used this almost every day except for this year with lockdown, and the poppers still work, so I like the poppers. I have got all the clasps that you can put on, but I decided I'd just do poppers, especially for this one because the girl, Debbie, who I'm giving it to, a previous one had poppers. She's left-handed and she broke her arm. I think she broke her right arm, so she has difficulty holding things. She badly broke her right arm, and so she has difficulty holding things and turning things, and I figured that that would be better for her. So this one is the one that I made her, and so you can see what it's like. This one has a contrast inside. It has a back zip that goes along there with a lined pocket. It has in here, let me show you, I'm going to use a pencil for this, but it has somewhere there that you can keep your pen or your pencil if you use a pencil, and it's got 6 credit card pockets there and 6 credit card pockets there. It has an inner zip pocket that you can put your coins into, and this one I have lined mine with red, and it has, if I close that, it has another little inner pocket there, 2 little card pockets there, and then a single card pocket which I did both different fabrics on either side, and then the credit card pockets, and then a last pocket there. So there's an awful lot of pockets there, and I know in the case especially of Debbie, she can fill that with everything, because when I saw her with her last one I said, is it good? She said, oh, is it good? She said, it's fantastic, it holds everything. And one of my subscribers said that it looks very like the necessary clutch. Well, this is my necessary clutch that I made. I made it with cats on, and same, you can see there I've had to put a seam at the bottom because I have cats both ways, the cats that way, cats there. I had to put a seam at the top there, and I've tried to match the cats so that they match as close as possible. That's the necessary clutch, which is very similar, but you can see it's not got that middle pouch there. It has 6 card slots there and 6 there, very similar, 2 zip pouches, but to me I like both. That one I've used one of those magnetic fasteners there. To me, this one holds a lot more than that one does. So yes, that's the necessary. That's the... So what this is about, it's about telling you about the PORTmoney Allin. I've made 3 recently. Purple one, and the purple one I've lined with blue. And then I've done a grey one. No, the grey one isn't finished because the grey one doesn't, it still has to have that centre piece put in. But the grey one I've lined with a grey sheep, and that's what it's like so far. But I still have a centre panel to put in. So I've talked too long. Let's get on with the making of it. It's a long video, so be prepared. Enjoy watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye. So you don't need much of this outer fabric. Now, if you can get a waterproof fabric, that's good. This particular one here, this is a very old purse that I made years ago. It's starting to get very worn and decrepit. But this is a waterproof fabric that I bought from the Knitting and Stitching show. Can use a cotton. If you use a cotton, it might get dirty quickly. So what I tend to do is I like to waterproof it. And this is what I'm busy on with at the moment, and that fabric has been waterproofed. It's got a bit of a shine to it. It's quite straightforward, but the stuff that you will need: oddie coat, fabric becomes oilcloth, and you will need an old credit card for scraping it on, for putting it on. You will also need, and I have them down here, I use these are cutting sheets that I got from Dunelm for kitchen part, and when I do my fabric I put it on there and I use that, and it's easy to wipe clean and get rid of all the excess glue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one batch there, and then I'm going to cut another batch. It's got to be 22 centimeters wide, so it's going to have to be wider than that. It's going to have to be 22 centimeters wide, which is about there, about to there. and it's got to be 140 long. So this is going to be, if I use both lengths, it's going to be 110, 220. But that's fine, because what I have left will help me use, you're going to have 140 that's going to be used for the inner piece that goes all the way along with all your credit cards there. But you also need to make these inner pockets here. So I will, you need to have some spare fabric. So really, this piece of fabric, which is 1/2 meter long and 120 wide, is about the right size. You will have a little bit left over, but it won't be very much. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 2 strips. So I've got 2 long strips, and then I'm going to sew the strips together, so I end up with one really long piece of fabric that I can work on. So I now have a piece of fabric, 2 lengths, 22 centimeters wide, seams in the middle, and right the way through to the other end. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some interfacing to this, and your interfacing has to be at least 1 centimeter from the edge and up to the very end there. So we now take this, and basically we're going to start at this end, and this is going to form the flaps and the folds. Though this is going to be the flap of the purse. This is going to go down, this is going to go back up, and that is where you're going to sew the first zip. This is going to be your 3 credit card pockets going down to the middle of your purse, which is there, your middle of your purse there, and then you're going to go back up and do another 3 credit card pockets. So basically the fabric is going to be that going down, forming your zip pocket, and then your 3 credit card pockets, and then it's going to go along the bottom, and then it's going to come up this side to form your other 3 credit card pockets. So what we're going to do first is we need to measure it, and these are the measurements starting from there, which is 12 centimeters. So you basically need, I use a French chalk, and what I do is I measure 12 centimeters at one end, draw a line, 12 centimeters the other end, draw a line, and this, if you see, that bend is going to be an inside bend, so you are going to be bending this that way. And what I do here is I take this to the iron, because I'm using a metal ruler, or you could use any ruler, it could be any ruler you like, but what you do is you fold it against those lines, make sure they match, fold it there. I would iron on top of the metal ruler, but if you haven't got a metal ruler you can pull that out. Make sure your ends are square here and square there, and then press that. So I'm going to do that now. So there's my first press, you can see on that line. The next one we have to do, we go 9 centimeters, but this, which is that one, we're going to go down 9, and so this is going to be bending inwards, so which means it's going to go that way. So we measure down 9 centimeters here, draw a line, measure 9 centimeters here, draw a line. I'm using yellow because it doesn't stand out too much and it won't show. Then I'm matching those lines there. Now obviously this back one's a bit longer, so I'm pulling that out and I'm going to bend it in towards there, making sure it's square. As I say, I would normally press there, but because not everybody has metal rulers, I'll pull that out and then I'll press that. And all the time when you're doing it, make sure you're going to be square there, because if you're off at all like that, then it's going to distort the whole pattern. So now we've got our 9 centimeters there. What's the next one? The next one is another 9 centimeters. So we're going to go back on ourselves again. So here we are going to measure from the bend, from that fold, 9 centimeters. So, and it's going to be that way. So 9 centimeters from that fold there, 9 centimeters there. Take those threads off, and here, lining it up on the yellow lines, fold it like that. There, is that right? Have a slightly moved there, no, that's fine. fold it back, take your ruler out, and then press that. So we've got the 12, we've got the 9, and we've got the 9 the other way, like that. So this bit is going to be, that's going to be your flap of your purse. That's your flap. And this piece is going to be where your zip's going to go. Your first zip is going to be there, like that. But we're not going to deal with that at the moment, just so you can see what it's involved. That's going to be your flap of your purse. So we've done 9, 9, and now we've got to do 5.5. So from here, now bear in mind what you've got to do is you've got to unfold all of those and fold that back on itself. Make sure it's square. Take your ruler out. Make sure it's square. See what, that's not square there, so I just have to line it up a bit more here, there, so that it's exactly square, and then press along there. Now then, so we've now got, that's going to be where the zip is. This is your first fold for your credit card, and that was 5.5. The next one is 4.5, because what you're going to have is it's going to go like that, and it's going to form a little, it's going to go lie a little bit lower, so you've got room to slot your credit cards in. And so we have, if I show you what we've got the flap, we've got the zip part, we've got the first credit card holder. Then we're going to do the same again. We're going to do our next, we've done that one and that one. Now we're going to do another 5 and a 4 and then a 5 and a 4. So I'll move you along and I'll come back when I've done both of those. So I now have my flap, my zip pocket, which is going to go there, I have to make certain the line's straight, my card pocket, my card pocket, and my card pocket, and they should really be about the same distance apart. That seems to be slightly off, so I'll straighten that up. We're going to measure down here, and let's have a look at what it says. We've done the 4.5, the 4.5 is that one. We've done that, and now we're going to go down 6. So 6 to here, there, and then it's 2. So this 2 across here is there, and 6 and 2. Let's put that there. And this is going to be the bottom of your purse. That's the very bottom. That's this part of your purse. That's your 2 centimeters across there. So what we're going to do now is fold that to there to get the 6, and then we're going to fold it again to get the 2, because all of that is going to lie like that. And then what we're going to do is, by following this, we'll repeat this and go up and form the pockets on the other side. I could have trimmed this down to 140 and I didn't. If you find it easier, you can trim it down to 140. It just makes life a bit easier for you. So that's your flap. That's where your zip's going to go there. So that's that one. This is your first credit card pocket. That's your second one. That's your third one. Okay, we've got that far. What you can use are clips. Make sure you line them up well, because even though you've measured the right sizes, there might be some slight discrepancy. But there, and that's those there. So that's your first lot of pockets. This is going to be the center of your purse. Then you have your other credit card pockets, which go like that. They form 3 lots. Then that's where the seam is of the fabric, but that's very fortunately going to go behind everything, so you won't see it. And here I have an 8, then a 4, and then a 2. And it's on that 2 line that I've got here, which you can't probably see very well. That line I will cut. And this fabric is not spare because that's going to be used to make the inner pockets. But for the time being, we can put it to one side until we need it. So that is going away to the side. And then here we have those pockets there, like that. And you should have it looking like that, where that goes up there and you have that seam there, but don't worry about that because that's not going to be seen. For the moment, I'm going to clip those together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to unfold that and just clip these together, and that one there. So this bit is free, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to take away this pocket part. So I'm just going to have this clip only on the credit card pocket. So I'm going to undo that like that, and I'm going to have that simply on the folds, those folds. So you've got those on the folds and you've got these free here. So what I suggest you do is the one that's got the 2 centimeters, tidy up the edge along there and leave it like that. Then we're going to find the halfway line and draw a line there so that we're going to stitch up and down, but we won't go to that middle 2 centimeter piece, that part of the fold. Can you see? If I do that, you can see where the shadow is. Now I don't know if you can see down there and down there, and that's where I'm going to stitch in the middle of there in the same way as I've done. Let me show you where the easiest one is to show you here, where I have stitched down the middle of that credit card. If I take that off there, I've stitched down the middle of the credit card there. Once we've done the lines across there, we can put this to one side, and we can, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to waterproof my outer fabric. When this is completely ready to go, if I can find the beginning and the end, we're going to have the zip there. This is going to be the flap, and this is going to go down like that, and that's going to be the basic purse there. That's going to be the middle, that's going to fold over like that, and that's going to go like that. So this is going to be your actual purse size. Obviously it's going to be in about 1 centimeter there and the same there. So what we need is an outer, if I take that zip away, the outer piece of fabric has to be about that size. But because I'm going to waterproof it, if you're using waterproof fabric, that's fine. But because I'm going to waterproof my fabric, I'm going to cut my fabric a fraction bigger to start with. Because when I use the oddy coat will shrink the fabric a bit. And roughly that size is, it's about 31 by 22. 31 by about 22. So I'm going to make my fabric about 36 by 26, and then I can trim it down. And then this is going to be finished for this evening, and the waterproof fabric will be waterproofed, and then by tomorrow morning it'll be fine, it'll be ready to use, and I can start working on the rest of the purse. And the nice thing about this fabric is it's not one way. Either way can do, so when you come to folding it over, it won't look like the pattern is upside. I'm going to trim down this edge, and that just nicely fits onto there anyway. And as you can see, even with that like that, I'm going to have plenty of room around it. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press that, and then I'm going to waterproof it. You basically coat your fabric, allow it to dry for 20 minutes before spreading 1 or 2 other coats for a perfect seal and a luster satiny feel. Completely dry after 24 hours. Now this one, that one here has had 1 coat, and this one has had 1 coat. I felt that one could have done with a second coat, so I might do 2 coats on it. Open it up, open the jar up, and you start from the middle and work outwards. So I'm going to take a good dollop on there, put it down, and spread it out. And that's all you do. You just keep spreading it around. You see how it stretches the fabric a little bit. It doesn't matter if it goes off the fabric, but just, I still have some on there, you see. And what you want to not have any ridges showing up on your fabric. Doing the last stroke, it might pay to go gently like that, just to make sure, oops, to make sure it's all going in the same direction. That end is lovely. And when you've done this and you want to clean your backboard, if you're not using cardboard to do it on, it shouldn't stick to it. It shouldn't stick to your backboard, but run your backboard under a warm tap or put it in the sink, and that should dry it out nice. That should wipe it clean nicely. So I am now going to disappear out of here, and the pot goes back on here. I shall go and have some evening meal, and then I'm going to come back and give it a second coat. By tomorrow, once I've done the second coat, I'll leave it until tomorrow, and then tomorrow I will press it on the wrong side with a cloth on the back, just to make sure that it's totally flat, and that will be my outer coat for my purse. So this has had 2 coats on, and you can see it's got a slight gloss to it. I'm going to peel it off now. It should peel off quite nicely. Not too much on there, so that can be scraped off easily with your fingernails or with a sharp kind of knife. Then here you can see that just around the edges there is some clear glue. Not a big issue because we're going to trim that off anyway. We then take this, going to be like that, so you're roughly still within the limits for trimming it down. So I'm going to put the bottom one away to one side for the moment, and then we're going to concentrate on this bit. We've done the card slots, and now we're going to concentrate on the zip part, the zip pocket, which is going to go there. Now what we need to do first is we open it out, and along this outer fold we are going to fold it like that so that the fabric goes behind here, and then we pin the zip to the flap. And then we're going to stitch along the inside edge, along there, right the way along. We now have it zipped on it fastened on one side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sew along the top of there to secure it onto the back piece. So we will pin it on here, and then we'll run a stitch close to the teeth along there. So this is now the pocket that's been sewn, and you have your little pocket like that inside. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to put a nice tape along there, and what we're going to do is put the tape just along that edge there, and then I'm going to put a little piece of elastic in. I'm using this because it's some that I've had. It's very, very old, and I want to get it used up, so I thought I'd use this tape to go there. It matches apart from the blue, but you know, there is some touches of blue, of pale blue on there, so might just get away with it. So I cut a piece about the length of the side there. So I have a little piece of green underwear elastic that I bought. I'm preferring not the shiny side but the matte side, and it needs to be about 4 centimeters. So if I cut 4 centimeters, which is to about there, and fold it in half, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put that just about in the middle, level with where that stitching is. It's pinned there, just off from the teeth, and I'm going to sew along there first and then trim the extra bit here, and then this is going to be sewn over the top like that, not just slightly on the edge of the zip and going along to there, so it leaves this a little enough room for a pen to be fitted into that little elastic. So now I have that like that. I'm going to trim this just a fraction, just trim a little bit of it off. So then we'll get the tape, and then I'm going to stitch all the way down the edge there. So this has been sewn on, and now we have to sew along the outer edge. Before I do that, I'm going to gently press it because I just want to make sure it lies properly. Okay, so the next piece is that we are going to sew down there and down there up to the ribbon, just to secure all the little pleats together. We are keeping this bit out for the time being, but we sew down to the pleats there on both sides. And you want it to be just less than 1 centimetre, because you're going to be going 1 centimetre in when you sew round. So I'm just going to go along here. You'll notice that I'm using the walking foot because it does a more even stitch. You need to make sure that your pocket is underneath as well, and just keep sewing right up until you just get past where the zip is. You've got to make sure that you're not pulling on these flaps and distorting their edges. So the next thing you do is we're going to turn it around this way, and you'll see that this is the piece like that on the other end opposite the zip. It's got that flap part. So what we're going to do is cut a piece from our leftover fabric. In my case, I've got a lot more than the 140 that you were told to cut, but what you need to cut, you've got the right width, and you need to make it 9.5 twice. So what happens is when you measure down there, when it's folded over, that should be 9.5 centimeters. So let's just check that that's 19 centimeters. I'm going to cut along there, along that straight line there. Once you've cut down there, you fold the long edge together like that and press along the fold. This has been pressed on the inside, folded. It measures 9.5 centimeters, and what we're going to do is we're going to put it in here at the back, but the folded side is the side that's going to be up against that fold. So the folded side goes in there, and you can see that that's the open side, and when you push it up against there, it sticks out a bit further on both sides. And so what you're going to do now is stitch along there to hold it all in place. And then on this little piece here, so we've sewn that in there, that's now in there with the folded part at the bottom, and it's 9.5 centimeters from one end to the other. If it doesn't make 9.5 centimeters, then trim this edge off, but be careful that you don't catch this folded. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to cut on each of these little ones here. One there, just a little bit. Turn it round, probably about less than 1 centimetre, and that is where the bottom of the purse is going to be, but that allows for a better movement. Then we're going to do the flaps now, and the flaps, you need to use this part of the pattern, which is the wide one, and you need 4 of those. If you have these, you can use these if you want. I'm using what I've got left here to cut mine, 11 by 20. It means I'm going to be a little bit too much on there, but I'll cut 4 pieces out of this. So I now have 4 pieces, 11 by 20. They don't have to be interfaced, but since I had already interfaced these, I'm going to do them like that. You bring them right sides together, and then 1 centimetre width go down from the folded edge to the cut edge on both sides. Leave this edge open because you're going to turn it inside out in a minute. Once you've sewn it up each of the sides, you trim it and just nip a little bit out the corner there. And you do that to all of them. And then once you've done that, you turn it inside out. Poke out the corners and then press. So we now have 4 of these turned the right way round, and what we're going to do is we are going to press them all from the folded edge to the cut edge, we're leaving about 1 centimetre from the edge. So once you've got those clipped on, we need to stitch down there and down there, up there and up there. What I suggest you do, because this is going to be through a lot of thicknesses, is fit a jeans needle into your sewing machine, and if you have a walking foot, use a walking foot. I have set the stitch to 3.5 because it's a lot of fabric to go through, and you want as long a stitch as, well, not as long a stitch as possible, but the 3.5 is about the best one. I'm sewing just a little bit less than 1 centimetre in, because when I eventually put the front of the purse on, I'm going to be sewing the edge 1 centimetre. So I want to have, it needs to go on the inner edge of these stitches. So I've now got this sewn. I've sewn the flaps to the sides. I've pinned those flaps, opened them out and pinned them, and here I've just tucked that under, because when I come to put in the outside of the purse on, I don't want that to get caught up here. So I've tucked them under for the moment. We then get our cover, and you will see that that is going to fit over there like that. Now what I'm going to do is draw around the edge here so that I can see exactly where I am. So now I can see roughly where my rectangle is there. So I'm going to cut round there first of all. I now have this cut, and I'll put this over the top for you to see exactly what it's going to look like. It's just going to meet it almost all the way around. It fits very nicely there. You can see the edge there. I can see the edge there. Just see the edge. the edge is just there and the edge is here. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to make a flap. I want to take the design of the flap that I want. Now the flap that I'm going to use is, so I'm going to do a flap that has one that goes to a point. The flap I'm going to use is number 11. Now it comes with a little thing saying 1 centimetre there, so that's not a problem. It's going to go on there and it's going to go against the top edge. Now that is just about going to be the right size. I think I've put a little fold on there because I think that's going to be, well, it doesn't really matter, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go on there and I'm going to lift that off and I'm going to turn it over, and this is where I want my flap to be. So I'm going to draw that onto the back of here. And I'm just tracing round that piece of fabric there. So that's where my flap's going to be. But I want to put some very firm interfacing on here to make it really, to make the purse lie really stiffly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, the stuff that I'm going to use is this very firm Micheline. It's an iron-on, but I am going to try ironing it, and initially I'm going to cut it into the rectangle that I've got here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this here and I'm going to put this piece on here and match up the edges there. So I'm going to pull it down to 1 centimetre, so it goes 1 centimetre down from the edge, and I'm going to draw around there again, all the way down to there, and all the way down here. And then I'm going to draw 1 centimetre in on here, all the way down, and draw that there. Oops. And go along there. And draw 1 centimetre in on this side. This interfacing is going to be 1 centimetre in all the way around on everything. So what I'm going to do is, because that's going to fit over the top of there, and what we're going to do eventually is sew around there, put them right size together and sew around it. But this is iron on, but it doesn't iron on very well. So once I've got it ironed on, I'm going to do a very light stitch all the way around the edge of there, just to hold it down, but right close to the edge, so that when you come to sewing it, you're not going to see it. Well, I knew there would be a use for my see-through invisible thread, and look what it is. You can't tell it's there, but I've used a see-through invisible thread to sew that, and I've sewn it very, very close to the edge. I don't know if you can see, very close to the edge, which means that when I sew round, and I'm going to be sewing round close to there, it's not going to be seen. So what I'm going to do is trim off these two ends here, like that, and that one there. Straighten it off there a bit, that's not square. That's going to be my template for sewing this. So I now take this, that's the flat part, that's the bottom part, and I am going to put that onto there, and you can see that it goes all the way around. Get it all lined up, and use my little pegs. Now I'm going to have to cut that and that to square it off, and before I do anything I'm going to make sure the zip is in the middle, because if you have it at the end then you may have problems. So I'm going to put that on there. Now I am all pegged up all the way around. That is what it looks like on this side. That doesn't look as if it's straight, so let's get that pulled out. Let's get that a bit better. There. There. You don't want any twists or any warps there, otherwise it's not going to lie properly. It's now all clipped up. With that on the other side, take off any threads and things that you don't want getting in the way. And I'm going to sew from this side, but I'm going to be very careful on the other side that nothing's being folded as I sew. So I'm going to start going down here first. I'm going to start here and go down there. The reason for that is this is the thickest fabric here. I'm using, as I've said before, I'm using a jeans needle, a denim needle, and I want to make certain it'll go through here. I'm using a walking foot, and I'm going to go at a fairly steady, slow pace. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch just on this side of that interfacing. And what I'm going to do is move further up first, and then go backwards. Go forward 2, and then go backwards, right to the edge. And then come forward again. And then I'm going to turn, and the reason for that is that you can see that if I open that, you can just see that bit there. I don't want it to stitch that, so I just want to go along the bottom there. And this is where you've got a lot of weight to your left, and you have to, I'm curling this over. You can't see it here, but I'm curling this over a little bit. I'm holding it a little bit so it's not going to put strain on this here. So I now have that sewn in place all the way around, and now I'm going to trim it all the way around in line with that stitching. I'm going to use my rotary cutter because it's much easier, and I'll cut just on the inside of that. I don't know if you can see, that's the outer stitches there, that's the interfacing stitches, and there's the other ones. I'm using invisible thread, you may have noticed, and I'm finding that this invisible thread works wonders. So let's trim it down. Okay, so I've trimmed the edge right the way around. It proved very difficult with the rotary cutter, so I had to use scissors around the thicker parts. Now we're going to turn it inside out, and the way to turn it inside out is to get your hand in there and you pull your hand right through to the bottom end. Now you have to watch because you've got pins in here, so you could take the pins out if you wanted to. One, don't forget that we're holding the flaps down, so if you can see them, take them out. 1, 2, and there's another 2 in the top part. 3 and 4, and then you might feel a bit more comfortable about turning it inside out. Just to make sure that you've done it, trim a little bit off there and a little bit off there. Right, and then a little bit off there and a little bit off there. Right, then we turn it inside out, and so we get our hand through and start pulling it through. Now you have to be fairly gentle. It's not going to be easy, but if you try a little bit at a time, try to get the top end through first. That will make your life a little bit easier. The quicker you can do it, the better, because then your waterproof fabric on the outside won't get as creased, but we can easily iron it. Well, we're going to have to iron it anyway, but basically pull it out, pull everything out like that. Still got my hand through, get my hand going round to there and running my finger round. I'm not really using scissors, just running my finger round so that I get to all the corners. Make sure everything is flat there. That's going to fold in on that like that. And now this one, you can see it's got the little fold there. Let's get everything pulled out first like that, and then let's try and sort this bit out. You need to get the little flap there to lie flat first. Run your fingers across if needs be, and then just get it all very flat there. And that's it, almost through. That's your outside. And you can see, you can hardly see. In fact, I don't think you can see any stitches there. You can't see the stitches, so I'm very pleased with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press it. Now you can see there that needs squaring off, and to do that we need to get our finger right into that little joint there, into the corner like that. There, get this fabric to lie flat again, get it all lying flat and square. You see that piece of fabric there is up there. I need to get it to lie so that one is overlapping the other, so that the longer piece is overlapping the shorter piece, and that there are no kinks inside. There, is that it? No, I can feel a kink. There. That's it. So we now have the purse. We're going to do that. We're going to put the pieces in there, but just so you can see what it's going to look like, this is going to be the inside and that's going to be the outside, like that. Now the first thing I've got to do is press everything. So I'm going to press it from this side. Just put the iron on, put a cloth over the top and press it. Pressing, don't forget, is like that. It's not like that. Just gently pressing. Put a cover on so that you're not damaging anything here, you're not burning anything. Then bring that across and press that bit and bring that across, pulling it away from the outside, and press it like that, because what we're going to do after we've pressed everything, you may have to turn it over and press this, but you must have a cloth over the top, otherwise it's not going to work. And then once we've got everything pressed and that's pulled right the way across, we're going to pin that back the way it was before, and then we're going to turn it over and we're going to top stitch all the way around there. Okay, so I've pressed this. It's got this nice and flat now, and nice and flat on the back. And what I'm going to do is do the same as before, because we don't want this to get in the way. I'm going to tuck that under and pin that there. Try and pick it up there. Tuck that under, pin that there. Come on. And do the same with these two. Pull them well in, because you are going to be top stitching. So pull them right in there if you can to there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start along the bottom here. Let's make sure that's well pulled in as well. I might just pull that down like that. I'm going to pull that down and I'm going to pin it to that inside bit, so that keeps it in, keeps it that way on, because otherwise the fabric might come out. I think I need to pull it a bit more. That there. And it's just a temporary to make sure that this fabric here doesn't stand out. Now I'm going to start along there, and then I'm going to go up the sides, round, and basically almost where that top stitching was, so it's not going to be seen. I've also just pinned that down like that, so that this bit doesn't catch in when I start sewing, so that when I'm sewing along that side and I'm not picking up this fabric here. Okay, so that's what it's like stitched. It's done a beautiful job. I'm very impressed with it. I was on a size 3.5, and the fact that it's invisible, you can't really see it very much. And look at the other side, invisible stitches there, looks good. Let me show you the one where I did proper stitches. That was the thread that I used on the proper one. Not bad, but the fact that it wasn't until after doing it I thought, oh, I should have used a purple thread or a lilac thread. Instead I used a navy blue thread, which didn't show up here but showed up on that side. So had I used invisible, it would have come up like that, and I am very impressed by that. So yes, I can't complain about that. I used invisible thread for this one, and you can't see that one either. So now we can unpick these, take all these pins away, and it's looking good. I'm being very happy with it. Those are going to bend back. In fact, I've done something wrong. I should have bent it that way. Ha ha ha! Those are going to bend that way, ladies and gentlemen. It's a good job I just realised now. I'm going to give this a little bit more press to make it lie flatter. Then I'm going to bend those that way, and I'm going to bend them up to there. Bend them up to the halfway mark. So I now have those that way. I've pressed them that way. And we're going to put that to one side because we're going to make the pockets. And the pockets we make, we're going to have, I'll show you what we're going to have. We're going to have a zip pocket at the back there. Then we're going to have a double pocket in there, and then a single one there. Now then, you may not have enough fabric, which is what the situation was here. I didn't have enough blue to use to do this, so I used this outside fabric. In the same case here, what I'm left with, all I'm left with is this. So I could use this to make the zip pocket and probably line it with the red, which I probably will do. Let's have a look. What could I do? I'll have some more of this, but this was a half a metre, and I still have another half metre which I bought in a pack. I could start that, but I'm thinking it might be nice to have some kind of different accent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the outer of the zip pocket, because the zip pocket is going to be lined, the outer of the zip pocket with this colour, and then the inner with that. I shall use the red for the other two, for the outside of these other two, rather than break into another half metre. What I need to do first is we need to take the very thin pattern. We need 4 of these for the purse. I have used those 2 that I have left and 2 red ones, and these are going to be this is going to be my zip pocket with the green on the outside and the red on the inside, like that. I've actually used the grey interfacing on that. So that's going to be my zip pocket. The zip pocket is the one that's going to lie at the back. So that's going to be green on the outside and red on the inside. Then you cut 3 of these on the fold. So you cut 3 on the fold like this, and so I have 1, 2, and then a third one, which I'm using what I've got left here, so I'm going to have to cut this to size. And then for these two little inner pockets, I have these 2, so I'm going to have 2 red ones. And then for this one pocket, I'm going to use these 2 pieces, which I have 1 left of the green and I'll cut 1 red. So I'm going to have it so that one's on one side and the other is on the other side. But because I'm going to have a seam there, I've cut this pattern slightly bigger because I'm going to have to sew along there right sides together and then fold it over. So that one is slightly bigger than the rest. So first of all, what we're going to do is press those two. Then I'm going to sew along the top of here right sides together like that. And I'm going to sew along, trim it, fold it over, and that will be this front pocket. So I've done that one, which has both sides, and I've just top stitched along the top. These ones I've sewn along the top as well. These are going to be the center ones. That's going to be the one there. These are going to be the red ones, are going to be those two. This one is going to be that one there. And now we need to do the zip part. So we need a zip, and the zip we're going to put on this, we're going to do right side together. So we need to pin it along the edge, pin there and sew. So we've done one side, I'm going to do the other side, right sides together, so that you end up with it like that. And then once you've sewn it, we're going to press it away so that that's on one side. Then we'll do the same on this side. So that has been pressed away, and I'm going to top stitch along there, and we repeat it on the other side with the green going that way, and then the red backing on the other side. And I'll now top stitch along the top there. So I've top stitched along the top, I've sewn across that little zip part and then trimmed it. I'm going to do the same at this end. Let's cut off all the spare threads of that. The problem with invisible thread is it curls up very easily, so we'll cut all these invisible threads off, and I'm going to pull that zip in to about there, and I'm going to over edge that so to stop it from coming off. Now I have the zip like that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew along there, and then I'm going to zigzag the edge just to make it tidier. I've sewn down and overlocked the purse part. Now I'm going to do the same on this one that has two sides to it, and this one that has two pieces together like that. I'm going to pin it like that just so it doesn't move, and then I'm going to sew down this one and zigzag or overlock the end part. Decide on whether you want to zip from right to left or from left to right. Then you need to trim off anything that's overhanging like that, and then put it into there so that the zip is below the fold, and put your clips on. Make sure it's right up to the fold. Clip that one, and then do the same on the other side. Now what we're going to do is pull that to one side and sew up and down there, and then we'll pull it to the other side and sew up and down there, and then that's that one. Then we're going to do the same with this one, and this is going to be the back pocket. So we will do, don't forget it's going to be upside down, so you want that so that that's your bottom bit and this is your top. And now we're going to sew down there, and down the other sides. Here's a little tip that hasn't taken, so I now have to unpick it, and this is a little tip for unpicking. Unpick the very first few pieces like that, and then put your stitch unpicker that way in with the ball. Do you see what the ball's inside? Then go down with your stitch unpicker like that, and you will find that you can rip it straight through, and the reason why it doesn't rip the fabric is because that ball stops it. You may have to unpick it a bit more because you've got a double bit here where you've gone reversed and gone forward, but that will take the stitches out without ripping the fabric. So we'll try again. So we've now got that like that and this like this. Now we turn it round and we fold it in on itself, and then we go like that with the two ends. And I prefer not to use clips but to pin, but I pin right in on this inside bit, so that this is now very rigid and very very straight. And then we are going to sew down there. That's not exactly centered there, that's better. That one needs to go down a bit more there. It's best to do one side first and then the other side. Take the pins out and then do this side. That sounds like hailstones. So we get that like that. Try and push this fabric across there, so you've only got this bit. And as I said, I suggest you pin it right close to the edge, and that will make your life so much easier when you come to sewing it. You haven't got to fuss on with trying to keep the edges together, because they should be together because you've pinned it, and they're not going to be in the way of the foot of the shoe, of the machine foot. So we now have that like that. We're going to turn it back to the outside again, so that this is the other way around. Not going to be easy, but we should be able to do it. You want it so that the red is on the outside. So the red is on the outside, and start making sure that everything is lined up. Any pins need to come out, and so far you have just about it almost done. The only thing that remains is that you're going to put this inner pocket here in the middle, and the way we do that is you do a similar thing. You may have to take a piece off this pocket, but what you do is you pull that right out this way, and we do the same thing. We fix it to there, so that we are going, and I prefer to put the pin right at the back there. Right, so I'm going to stitch down there, but these pins are going to stop me from having to worry about it pulling away. And then once I've done that, I do the other side. So I'll do this side first, and then we'll see how it goes. So here, that's that one done there, and now I'm going to do this side. So push that right out, and we're going to put that one in like that. So you start tidying it up, making sure that everything's lying more or less straight or in perfect shape. We're almost at the end. The only thing we've got left to do is to put our clasp on there, and I'm going to get some thread, and I'm going to go around there and then do a buttonhole stitch. You can see what I've done there. Round it, I've gone round it and done a buttonhole stitch over it. That's the other side. Round it and done a buttonhole stitch. And so I'll do that, and then once I've got I'm going to give it a bit of a press again, because we've been messing around with it a bit. The main one is to flatten that bit and to make sure everything's lying straight. You can pull them out to do it, so pull them out, put your clip on like that so it holds it all together, and then do your buttonhole stitch there, and then do it on the other side. the next thing I want to do is I want to put a clasp on the front of here. So I'm going to put one about there, and basically the front is going to be cut so that it comes through to this side, and there's going to be a button, a turning button that goes in here, and that the way to access that one is to go via that little opening down there, and you position it through the opening, and so it's all closed up when you're finished. So the first bit I'm going to do is I need to do this bit, and it needs to be exactly in the center. It needs to be not too close to the edge. The one thing, before I finish, the one thing that you can use, and I found it even if you're not really keen on doing this sort of thing, another way is to use these little plastic poppers. These are the plastic poppers that you get for baby grows. I have used this an awful lot of times, and it still holds a good, it still has a good hold on it. So you could, if you wanted to, do the plastic poppers. These are very easy to put on. The fact that you've got to cut the fabric, you must be spot on. There is a lot more iffiness about it, and to be honest, I like that because it's very close to the edge, whereas this one is going to be standing at least that far. When that's on there, let me just get, no, it's this one, is it that one? When that's on there, it's going to be standing quite far out, so you're inclined to wonder whether it'd be better with a popper. In fact, the more I think about this, the more I'm wondering whether I should use a popper instead. But if I do use this, I do have all of these, which are little dies that help you find the right one to cut to make this cut. And the one that I think it might be is one of these. Definitely not a small one. Could be the bigger one. Could be that one. The middle-sized one, which I think it is, because that one's way too big. It doesn't need to be as big as that, I don't think. So it'll probably be that one that we need to cut so that it makes an opening like that for that to go through. So what I will do is basically find the center of here, find the center of there, and then once I've got the center, make a little crosshair mark, and then find the middle of that, put it over a very hard surface like that, bang it down with a hammer, and it'll cut the piece out, and then I can work that in. Now what I'm going to do is I actually took a picture of the one that I gave her before, and whatever the clasp is, I think I shall do the same version because she likes it and she'll be accustomed to it.